Already got a headache, man. Yeah, sorry, man. God, it's so light. Already got a headache, man. Keep your ears low. 22 minutes.
Tips on how, a second language is required, what to do, what not to do, some hope you benefit and take notes, because it's a very important dars. It's basically learning the language, learning Arabic, is learning the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very important. Further ado, I'll hand it over to him, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan.
ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. نسأل الله أن يعلمنا ما ينفعنا وأن ينفعنا بما يعلمنا فإنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. ثم بعد. Can I ask brothers to come closer, please? Yes, I don't like gap when there's gap in front of me. The brothers asked me to speak about the Arabic language. They titled, I think, My Journey Through Arabic. I'm not going to talk about my journey through Arabic. I can tell you that in 30 seconds. So I did some Arabic here, then I went abroad for a bit, then I came back and I continued. That's my journey. Yeah, that's over. So what I'm actually going to talk about is more about how to learn the Arabic language from my own experiences. Maybe here and there I'll contribute something from my own experiences throughout the last few years of me studying Arabic. But the main focus, inshallah ta'ala, will be on, I'll start off with why study Arabic, the reasons behind why we should learn Arabic. Then we'll talk about going through the stages of learning Arabic, what you should do, maybe some common pitfalls, some tips and so on and so forth, and a few other things related. I did this actually same talk about a year and a half ago, and a lot of the time went to Q&A. So I'm going to try and finish a little bit early, just in case there are questions. And if not, then inshallah, no problem, we'll finish a bit early. We'll start off, inshallah ta'ala. I want you brothers to just imagine you were there at the time of Musa alayhi salam. You're one of the people from the area, and you are following Musa alayhi salam. But generally speaking, just imagine, they probably want these kind of people. I just want to imagine from your point of view. I'm just giving an example. You're not really sure about whether he was a prophet or not, and you just wanted some yaqeen. And then you saw Musa alayhi salam split the sea in half. Imagine you were there. And you saw Musa alayhi salam split the sea in half. Would you have any doubt in your heart anymore? This is Rasulullah, this is the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Would you have any doubt? It's a miracle, isn't it? That's one of the reasons why we have miracles. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us something is the case. Likewise, imagine you were there at the time of Isa alayhi salam, and you saw him performing miracles, curing the sick in front of your eyes. Would you have any doubt that he was a Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Would you? Yes or no? That's what these miracles do. Now if I were to tell you that you had a bigger miracle, a miracle that's far, far greater, right in front of you today, but you had to do this and this and this to access that miracle, would a sane person reject that? Would he reject that proposal? Here are a few things you can do, and you can access this miracle, which is far greater than any miracle any other prophet has been given. The kind of certainty you'd have attained had you been present and witnessed those miracles in the past, you'd attain that same certainty, if not more, from this miracle, because it's better than all the other miracles of the past. And this is how you can access that miracle. Would any of you shy away from that? Would any sane person shy away from that? And of course, which miracle am I talking about here? The Quran. And there are many cliches we come across. A lot of speakers talk about, imagine you were given a letter from someone you love from the other side of the world and it was written in Chinese. Yeah. Would you learn Chinese? And everyone says, yes, we learn Chinese. And they go, no one learns Chinese. But the concept is correct. We have something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we could talk about this for a very, very long time. It's a miracle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's own speech. Our Sharia and our Islam and our religion in a book. That's a miracle that will give you such certainty. And of course, even if you don't know Arabic, the miraculous nature is still there. But a lot of it you can't access if you don't know the Arabic language. A lot of it you can't access if you don't know the Arabic language. And there's something only someone who knows Arabic and can understand the Quran to some degree can tell you. And sometimes, just to give you some examples from my personal experience, it's not because, I want to show Allah I understand the Quran. Allah knows my status between me and Him. But just to give you some examples, there are some verses in the Quran that the first time I read them after learning some Arabic, I was affected in a way that I wasn't affected before. Just because of the nature of the language. The translation cannot do the same service. Just, for example, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. That verse which talks in Surah Tawbah, which talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and how he cares about you, how your difficulties are for him difficult as well, and how he's eager for your success and eager for things which are good for you. That verse affected me the first time I read it after knowing some Arabic, because of the way it was written, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it. Likewise, the last couple of pages of Surah Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, verses like يَوْمَ تُبَدُّ الْأَرْضُ غَيْرَ الْأَرْضِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتِ وَبَرَزُوا لِلَّهِ الْوَاحِدِ الْقَهَّارِ ولا تحسبن الله غافلا عما يعمل الظالمون إنما يؤخرهم ليوم تشخص فيه الأبصار مهطعين مقنعي رؤوسهم لا يرتد إليهم طرفهم. The first time I read this, there was a genuine horror in my heart. It was in Ramadan, it was last 10 days, so everyone's iman is already high. We're reading Quran, we were encouraged for a long time to ponder over it, and I was reading those verses. It's not because I had a certain level of piety, it's just because that Arabic language was able to affect me in a way that the English never could. And you start to have some access to the miraculous nature of the Quran, and your iman just immediately increases. That's one reason to, and that's enough. Sometimes I come across an ayah and I think, subhanAllah, this ayah is reason enough to learn the Arabic. So I could understand this ayah in the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended, even layers upon layers of meanings. Understand one layer, perhaps. And that for me is enough to learn the Arabic language. That's one reason. There are many other reasons. So much of our Islam, so much of our religion is codified and is preserved in the Arabic language. We know this for a fact. So many books of hadith, so many books of tafsir, so many biographies of our predecessors, so many accounts of the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and very few have been translated. And even the ones that have been translated, the ones that are very true to the actual text while also maintaining some level of literature and language are very few. In fact, from the tafsir, which are well known, I think the only one that's been translated is Ibn Kathir from beginning to end. I don't know if you know any more. And even that's an abridgment with things missing. From the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are so many books in Arabic, but very few in the English language. From the books of hadith, when you translate them, it's not the same. But imagine you knew the Arabic language. You have now opened the door to getting to know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a much more personal level. You can understand him and speak to him and hear him speak in the way he actually spoke to the Sahaba. Imagine that, just think about that. Imagine having the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which have been so pristinely preserved, in the way he said it to the Sahaba. Not through the English language, or through whatever language it is that you speak. Again, that in itself is good enough reason. So many biographies of the Sahaba, so many biographies of the Salaf. Imagine just every day, if you would run out, after a few years of reading every day, you'd run out of material maybe. If you had some Arabic, you could spend every day with the Sahabi, every day with someone from the Salaf, every day with the Tabi'i, and your iman would be increased. And every day you spend time with someone new just by reading his biography. You have so much access to iman boosting and iman preserving material that enough is a reason to learn the Arabic language. And this is a slightly deeper point. Languages in general, they affect the way you think. Language is a vehicle for your thoughts. When you see anything, after you've learnt a language, you see it through the prism of that language. When you see a book, what comes to mind? Book. The sound of the word book affects the way you see that. In the Arabic language, it's kitabun, so that has a different way of seeing it. And any other words associated with that affect it. Let me give you an example from something that matters. So what does iman mean? Someone tell me, what does iman mean? Nobody knows what iman means. You don't have to be scared. It's alright, you can say it in English. What does iman mean? Tafhim. Just one word, I want one word. Faith. Who agrees iman means faith? Just raise your hand. Now you would have said it before, you don't have to pretend. Just raise your hand if you would have said faith. Okay, good. When you say faith, other words come to mind for a lot of people. You think of leap of faith, for example. But leap of faith is not a concept that's present in Islam. Leap of faith sort of gives you the idea that there isn't, it isn't an evidence-based reasoning. You have to take a jump with no reason and just believe. Whereas in Islam, iman, the word iman has etymological links to words like al-aman and aman, safety and trustworthiness. And so someone who understands Arabic and thinks of the world around him and thinks of Islam and he understands Islam and speaks about Islam using this indigenous language, his view of Islam is very, very different. And so he's able to understand Islam in the original language that was preserved and that was portrayed. And immediately that serves as a defense for other alien ideas to come in that could corrupt his understanding of Islam. Do you understand my point? That's one of the reasons. There are many, many reasons why the Arabic language is important. And this is all from an Islamic perspective. Even just the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided that this is the language He will reveal His book in is good enough reason. That suffices as fadl. That suffices as, the virtue of the Arabic language. Allah chose this language. Allah chose this language. So these are a few reasons why learning the Arabic language is very important. Other reasons include, for example, just from a logical perspective, Salah is one of the, if not the most important thing in our life. It's our connection between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a daily basis. We speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala several times a day through our Salah. And this is the first thing we will be asked about in Yawm al-Qiyamah. So should it not be important to us, our khushu' in Salah, or the quality of our Salah is very high, yes or no? Yes. Now think about it. How much can the quality of your Salah be if you don't actually understand what you're saying? And we all know the answer. And if we understand the answer, which we do, it would not make sense for us to not strive to understand what we're saying in our Salah, because this is our akhirah. This is the matter of Jannah and Jahannam, the pleasure and displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we really truly understand that, we will strive to learn Arabic so that we can understand what we are saying in our Salah. And really and truly speaking, in my opinion, I don't think it makes sense for someone to want Jannah but not try to learn Arabic. It really doesn't make sense. Someone who knows that they want Jannah, this is what they need. They need to have khushu' in their Salah, they need to understand the Quran, they can develop a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Sahaba and the Salaf through this language. And these things will definitely exponentially increase their yaqeen and their ability to do good deeds and abstain from evil deeds. And yet, it doesn't make sense. And if we are amongst those people, which many of us are, including myself, we should really question and think about our place in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that clear? Yes or no, brothers? Yes? So that's first and foremost. Just a little motivation, inshallah ta'ala, to learn the Arabic language. Just can I have a show of hands, brothers, who are learning or will very soon learn, inshallah, have made a conscious intention and deliberate intention to learn the Arabic language? Just raise your hand high. Good. And really, if you're in London, particularly East London, you have no excuse. And I say this all the time. There are so many classes. Free classes, cheap classes. Some of you are rich, poor, most of us are broke. Yeah, but there are still free classes you can go to. You can learn the Arabic language if you put the time and effort in. So here are a few reasons, and there are many, many more reasons, and I'm sure you can come up with a few yourself. But just for the sake of time, we'll move on, inshallah ta'ala, to how to study the Arabic language. The first stage, of course, I'll talk about the first stage first and foremost. Of course, is intention and the reason why you're studying the Arabic language. The reason why you're studying the Arabic language. The reasons could be any of the reasons we mentioned before. There could even be dunya reasons related to the dunya. A brother, we started a class recently, one of the brothers, he's an actor, he looks Arab, so he gets a lot of Arab roles. So it would help him in his career if he knew Arabic, and that's fine. That could be a reason, but don't allow that to be a primary reason. Don't allow that to be a primary reason. You can have those reasons at the back, they can be your secondary or tertiary reasons. But your main reason should be from amongst the reasons we've mentioned or something similar to those reasons. To please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attain His pleasure. That should be your first and foremost intention. And try to have sincerity as much as you can. You are doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if nobody found out you knew Arabic, you still do it. Ask yourself that all the time. Imagine nobody knew I was studying Arabic. Imagine nobody knew how much I knew, would I still be doing it? And if the answer is no, question your intentions, question your sincerity, and try and renew your intentions. You should aim high. Your intention is not just about being sincere. Your intention is about also having ulu al-himma. It's about having a very high aspiration. And if you have high aspiration, a few things can happen. Number one, you'll probably get more reward. We know the famous hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam narrated from Ibn al-Khattab, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are judged by your intentions. And this means that it's based on your intention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you. But it also means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could put barakah in your action based on the intention. If you approach the Arabic language with the intention that I want to fulfill the fard kifaya, that I want to get to such a level that I'm a master and an expert, or I am written amongst those who have fulfilled the fard kifaya of the Arabic language, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you accordingly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you accordingly and help you accordingly. Don't say, I'm going to learn the Arabic language and I want to become alright at it. I want to just be able to say, كيف حالك, بخير, alhamdulillah, order some food from a Lebanese restaurant. Don't allow that to be your intention. Allow your intention to be, I want to speak Arabic like Imam al-Shafi'i, who was an expert in the Arabic language. I want to speak Arabic like such and such person, or so and so. Even if you know in your heart of hearts that you're not going to get to the level. The vision does not have to be realistic. It has to be just like a marker, a pointer that directs you wherever you're going. The higher your vision, you will get to it. If you aim low, you won't get further than that ceiling. Make your ceiling very, very high, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you and help you accordingly. Is that clear? Okay? Every single one of us can attain that. Every single one of us can attain that. If you start to say, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the ability, you're not only putting limits on yourself, you're indirectly or directly putting limits on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ability. Allah can do anything. He can make you able to do whatever He wishes to make you able to do. If you say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, you are capable of doing all things, make me able to do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer your dua. Why not? Why will He not answer your dua? So that's first and foremost, intention and sincerity. Aim high, be very sincere, and this applies to everything. Everything I say for the rest of the day, try and apply this. Always remember what is my intention, what is my goal, what is my vision, and try and constantly remind yourself of that vision. Khair, is that clear? طيب. Again, before starting on to the actual details of how to learn Arabic, what's the first thing you should do to seek help? Who do you seek help from? Who do you seek help from? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is very, very important. It sounds like something that's said very, very often, but we think about it enough and engrave it in our hearts and our characteristics and our mindsets enough. Seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a one-off action. It's a mindset and a habit. It's something you do constantly. A true mu'min, someone who really believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is someone when something goes wrong, immediately his first course of action is to seek the relationship between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When his business goes wrong, he starts break apart, whether between himself and his wife, or himself and his mother, or his siblings or friends, immediately he goes back and he thinks, what sins am I committing that could be removed barakah from these? What sins is it that I am committing that is stopping me from attaining this and that? That's the first thing he does. He seeks forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he understands that sins affect these things. They remove barakah. They can even affect your memory and your intelligence and your capability to understand things. There's a famous couple of lines of poetry that's narrated usually to Imam al-Shafi'i, although I think it's disputed that it's actually him who said it. But it goes like this: شكوت لوقيعي سوء حفظي فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي وأخبرني أن العلم نور ونور الله لا يهدى لعاصي. He said, شكوت لوقيعي, I complained to my waqi'. Waqi' was the name of his teacher. سوء حفظي, the poor nature of my hifz, my memory, that I couldn't study, that I couldn't retain what I was learning. Basically, I was struggling to learn something. فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي. So what was his advice? He said, leave sins. So he asked him, I can't memorize, what do you advise me to do? He didn't say, wake up in the morning because that's when your memory will be fresh. He didn't say, eat this food because it's good for your brain. Maybe these things are all true. And advised him was, فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي. He led me to leaving of sins. وأخبرني بأن العلم نور. And he informed me that knowledge is light, the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَنُورُ اللَّهِ لَا يُهْدَى لِعَاصِي. And the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not given to someone who sins. And the light of Allah is not given to someone who sins. Again, another attributed to Imam Hassan al-Basri. People used to come to him to complain about this and that. They couldn't have children, or it wasn't raining, so they were suffering from drought. And every time they used to come to him with a complaint, his response was the same. He said, what? Seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Seek forgiveness. So some people came to him and they said, what has seeking forgiveness got to do with the rain? What has seeking forgiveness got to do with my business? What has seeking forgiveness got to do with the fact that I can't have children? To which he responded, do you not read the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا يرسل السماء عليكم مدرارا ويمددكم بأموال وبنين ويجعل لكم جنات ويجعل لكم أنهارا. Seek forgiveness from your Lord. Indeed, He is the one who forgives. And as a result of that, He will send you rain, He will give you wealth, and He will give you children, and so on and so forth. As a direct response, as a direct result of seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the mindset of a mu'min is that immediately when he wants help, he checks his relationship and his status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he knows that if everything is good between him and Allah, Allah will take care of all of his affairs. To the extent that he does this so often, and it becomes such a mindset, and it becomes such a characteristic and a habit, that he becomes someone who's close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he knows that he has a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that nobody else can have. And that kind of person, is not thinkable that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not give him everything he asks for. Imagine someone who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night, does all his fard, does all his sunan, and does nawafil on top, wakes up for tahajjud. Every time something goes wrong, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when things are okay, he's grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the smallest things, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Small things, very, very small things. Imagine the smallest thing, he makes dua for it. And imagine the biggest things, he makes dua for it. That kind of person, it is not thinkable that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not grant him his every wish. So if we are those people, Allah will give us everything we want. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being that person, oh Allah, make me an expert in the Arabic language, you will become an expert in the Arabic language. Unless for some reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala believes something else is better for you. Is that clear, brothers? So that's the main thing. If there's anything you take away from today, make it that. Because if you take that away, you don't need anything else. Allah will give you the rest. You don't need me to tell you. Is that clear, brothers? Yes? Yes or no, brothers? Yes. Jazakallah khair. Tayyib. Now moving on to the more practical side of things. Any language has 4 key elements. There are 4 skills to learning a language. Someone tell me what they are. 4 skills. Someone tell me. Sorry? Determination is necessary, but I'm not talking about that. 4 skills. I'll give you one of them. Reading. Right? That's one of the 4. What are the other 3? Yes, I. Reading, speaking. The other 2? Writing. And the last one? Listening. Right? Reading in no particular order. Reading, speaking, writing, and listening. These are the 4 skills you require to achieve proficiency in any language. And definitely, of course, the Arabic language, which we are talking about today. So throughout this, I've basically split up, I think, into like 4 or 5 stages that we're going to go through of learning the Arabic language. And in each stage, I'll mention where we are in each of these 4 skills. So I want you to remember those. Reading, speaking, listening, writing. I'll probably mix that order up. No problem, inshallah. Okay, the first stage is when you know absolutely nothing. When you know absolutely nothing. This is when you don't even know the alphabet. And of course, first thing you do is you learn the alphabet. We're not going to spend too much time on that. I think most of us here do know the alphabet. If someone may be watching or the recording later or something doesn't know the alphabet, you can find someone who knows Arabic and they can teach it to you. It's not too difficult to learn the alphabet. But make sure that you know how to read and write the Arabic script, even if you don't understand it, make sure you know it well. The better you know the reading and writing of the script, the easier the later stages come. I've taught Arabic to a lot of people who come to me and they say they're beginners, but because they can't read and write, they struggle. I mean, they can read and write, but they're very slow. And they haven't yet mastered it, so they struggle a lot. Because, you know, whilst I'm teaching something, I'm assuming they can read that. And whilst I'm halfway through explaining a point, they're just about figured out what I've written on the board. Yeah? Sometimes it's because of my hand, and sometimes because they can't read it very well. So if you perfect your reading and writing, that will become... But again, don't fall into the pitfall of saying, I'm going to perfect this, and stay on it for years upon years, and you never move on. Have balance. Get to a point where you think, okay, I'm confident that I can read and write, I have a certain speed, I can write in a certain speed, I can read at a certain speed, and then inshallah ta'ala move on. I don't mean reading without harakat. I mean be able to read with the vowels, you know, the fatha, kasra. You know, I know the Arabic terms as well, fatha, kasra, dhamma, dhammatan, and so on. And so forth. Stage 0. Stage 1 is when you need to know the fundamentals. Now the following advice for the rest of this session or talk or whatever, a lot of it is just my opinion. It's based on my experience. Take advice, but other people as well. Some of this I'm very convinced that no one will disagree with me. And some of it is just based on my experience, and those things are obvious. So always seek advice from other people. My personal opinion is, before you go abroad, you should spend some time learning the basics in your own native language. A lot of people, and the reason I say this is because when I spent some time abroad in Cairo, and I had done the basics here. So I spent some time how to produce a noun sentence, how to produce a verb sentence, the possessive construct, and so on and so forth. I learned the basics here in this country, in the UK, in the English language. And so I found that when I went abroad, these things came to me a lot quicker because I already knew what they were talking about. Whereas there were a lot of people that went and studied with absolute knowledge of the Arabic language. The teacher was trying to teach them technical grammar. Okay, imagine I wanted to tell you, I came and I said, الجملة الاسمية تتكون من مبتدأ خبر. طيب. مبتدأ مرفوع والخبر مرفوع. No matter how many times I repeat it, will this make any sense to you? For example, it might take you a couple of weeks or 4 lessons if you actually say. Yeah? But imagine I told you, the noun sentence is made up of two parts. What you're talking about and what you're saying. Like the man is big. The man is the subject and big is the predicate. How many of you understood what I just said? Most of it, right? Maybe you didn't understand the word predicate. But the other words you probably understood. Now you understand, I'll give you a few examples. You learn that in the English language, it'll be a lot quicker. You'll understand the basics very quickly. So you will learn in this country, in your own native language, in 2 weeks, what would perhaps take you about 2-3 months to learn. The idea is a short time compared to a long time. What would take you about 2-3 months to learn abroad in the Arabic language. Of course, that's not to say, those people probably don't have a choice. A lot of them were from, Russia or Chechnya and other places like this where they didn't have many opportunities in that country. So they had to come to Cairo or somewhere abroad to learn. And often if you learn that through the Arabic language, long term you become very, very strong. Long term you do become very strong. But my personal advice is, you can still be very strong and it will save you a lot of time in the basics in the English language. So learn the basics of grammar, Arabic grammar, morphology and syntax in this country. And find a teacher. In the beginning you do need a teacher. It's very rare that people self-study and get very far. You can do if you're dedicated and you're hardworking and you're sharp. You can get there, and there are people who have. But the general advice would be at the very beginning, find a teacher. Go to an institute or find a teacher who will go through from beginning to end the fundamentals of the Arabic language. How to produce a noun sentence, how to produce a verb sentence, how to produce nouns from particles, the basics of i'rab. Why I think sometimes in fatha, why I think sometimes in kasra. Sometimes in the Quran you have muslimun, sometimes you have mu'min, sometimes you have mu'minun, sometimes you have mu'minin. But they mean the same thing, so what's the difference? These basic things, learn them. Learn the basics between and the basic differences between different types of words. And this, inshallah ta'ala, if you're hardworking, even on a once a week basis, if you do your homework and you work hard, this shouldn't take you more than 2-3 months, I would say. If that. That's once a week. That's just, I'm saying once a week. If it's more than once a week, 2-3 times a week, even quicker than that. You can learn the basics. And again, just to remind you, my approach to learning the Arabic language is one where I want to get to a stage where you are independent learners as quickly as possible. So you learn the tools to get to a stage where you become your own teachers. And I'll explain that when we come to the next stage. So the first stage is to find a teacher or go to an institute that will teach you the fundamentals of the Arabic language and the fundamental vocabulary. The words, everyday words that you have to know. Like teacher, student, book. And these things that you have to know. At this stage, there are a few things you can do to help you. Some things you can do, and this might sound a bit radical, but those who do this get very far. You can take post-it notes and then stick them onto things with the Arabic words on it. Stick them, for example, you can have a wall. You can take a post-it and write the word jidarun, wall, and stick them to the wall. So whenever you see the wall, Some people go to an extent where they put it on their spoons. They put spoon on the spoon, on the fork. They have to change all the time because it gets wet. But they do it. Or the washing machine, or the ceiling. No problem. Put the post-it note with the Arabic word wherever you can, and you learn these words. Again, at this stage, don't run around. Sometimes you find a teacher, he's really not that good at all. You think probably the best thing to do is move on. But don't fall into the trap of thinking, I've joined a teacher, then someone else told me, bro, there's another teacher, he's amazing, and you move from to him. Then you're just moving around for weeks upon weeks upon weeks and get nowhere. Don't do that. In the beginning, if you find a teacher and he's good, and you're learning with him, stick to him. No matter what people come and tell you, this person is good, this teacher is better, I learn so much more. Don't be fooled by this. Consistency gets you much further than a good teacher. Believe me. Consistency, hard work, gets you much, much further than a good teacher. So find a teacher who's good enough for you. You're learning something from him. You might not like everything about him. Find a good teacher or a good institute and stick to it. Work hard and do your homework. And at this stage, just rely on the teacher. If you have a question, there's one point. Ask. Asking questions is extremely important. You are far more likely to remember something that was given to you as an answer to your question than something that a teacher just said in passing. If I was teaching you something on the board and then you didn't understand something and you asked me, Br Tahseen or Ustad or whatever, what's this? Or can you explain this again? And I told you, you're far more likely to remember that. So students who ask a lot of questions are more likely to learn more. At the same time, if you ask a question, and he says, sorry about for now, just listen to him. At this stage, at the start, in my opinion, you are relying on your teacher and just listen to what he says. He's your guide and just take him as your guide. If you can question, probe him, annoy him a little bit. But if he says to you, listen, just stop here, don't worry about this for now, it'll confuse you, just listen to him. So at this stage, learn the fundamentals of the Arabic language from a teacher or an institute, someone that knows their stuff. I have to rely on him and take him as your or him or her as your guide. And there are many places for us to do that in London, especially if you're in East London. Is that clear? That's the first stage. At this stage as well, in this stage, you need to learn how to use a dictionary. Again, not everyone will give you this advice, in my personal opinion. The Hanswehr dictionary, written by this German dude from like last century, his name is Hanswehr. He wrote a dictionary which is a very good dictionary. I'm not going to teach you that now, obviously, but just remember that Hanswehr, write this down and ask your teacher for this. When you learn how to use the dictionary, it'll be near the end of this stage. You'll have to learn quite a bit of morphology. You'll need to learn the 10 forms, a few other things to understand how to use it. But this should be one of the last things you do at this stage of the basics. Okay, and throughout the stage, there should be two things you're doing. Two things. One thing. Reading Quran a lot. Not just for the sake of Quran, of course, that's important in itself, but I mean from the Arabic perspective. The reason why I tell you to read a lot of the Quran is because it will give you a familiarity with the language. It will give you a very strong familiarity with the language, to the extent that sometimes you'll hear something in Arabic and you'll know it's wrong. You won't know why, but you just know it is. Yeah, imagine, and some of you will already appreciate this, if I said to you, Inna Allah ma'al mu'min. Some of you don't know Arabic, that was just something's not right. You know it's mu'min, because after ma'a or fi or these kind of words, it'll give you instinct for the Arabic language, and it'll help you learn the Arabic language. Read the Quran regularly, listen to the Quran regularly, with its translation, if possible, which is possible actually, preferably with its translation. So this is what you should be doing in stage number 1. Is that clear? Yeah, so this is the fundamental. Second is the intermediate stage, relative to our plan. Here is where you pick up a simple book. At this stage, you know basic vocab. You spent a couple of months studying basic vocab, you've been hardworking, you've done your homework, you've asked the questions, you've picked up what you need to do. Pick up a book, and with some help from the dictionary and a teacher, be able to read the book. Very basic book, something like Qasasun Nabiyyin or Qasasun Nabiyyin by Abu Hassan Ali al-Nadwi, for example, or Al-Rashida by the same author. Even Al-Arabiya al-Sheikh, book 1, book 2, which are all available online. All the books are available online as PDFs. And these kind of texts, very beginning, they're very, very simple. You should be able to do these texts at this stage on your own with a dictionary, and if you get stuck and you can't figure out even with a dictionary, you're going to ask a teacher. And at this stage, frequency is much more important than intensity. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to learning a language, 1 hour a day, 5-6 days a week, will get much further than spending 12 hours on a Sunday every week. Because language is by instinct. And the way your mind works is, if you tell your mind, this is important, and the way you tell your mind something is important, you do it regularly. If you're doing something, if you're engaging with the Arabic language every single day, even if it's for 15-20 minutes, it doesn't have to be longer than 15-20 minutes, your mind will register this as something important, I need to retain it. Whereas if you only do it once a week or once a month, even if you do several hours, it won't remember it. It won't register as something important. So frequency at this stage is, what I mean by this, take a book, spend 20 minutes on this book. 20 minutes, just 2-3 lines. Go through each word. If you want to write it down or just write it in the book. Okay. Here are a few common pitfalls. Number 1, don't spend ages writing down the vocab and looking it up and looking up other words. Okay. If you spend 2 words, by the time you finish the second word, you forgot the first word. By the time you get to the third sentence, you've forgotten the first sentence. Between speed and effectiveness. About speed and effectiveness. Go through every word, look up the words you don't know, write it down, but don't dwell on it too much. Another mistake people do, they finish a book. They probably finish Benedict book 2, or finish the first chapter of Nabiyyin, for example, and they think, you know what, I didn't understand all of it. Let me read that chapter again, or let me read this book again. And I know so many people like this. Even when I was abroad, I know one person who was on book 2 for months upon months upon months. He finished book 2 of Benedict, and he thought, I'll finish the chapter, I'm going to do it again. He did it 3-4 times. You don't need to do that. The language is the same in book 3. You're still learning Arabic in chapter 2 and chapter 3. The same words will come up, and you won't get bored. You don't see the same word in different contexts. If the word is important, will it not come up again? Yes or no? If it doesn't come up for another 5-6, you probably don't need to know at this stage. Probably very obscure. You don't have to know at this stage. If you remember it, good, of course. But if you don't, it's not worth missing out on consolidating the important words for that single word. So if you finish a book or you finish a chapter and you understood 50-60%, that's good. That's good. 50-60% is a good mark. Even a bit below that is fine. Move on. Move on. And this is how children learn. This is how children learn. They learn through high frequency vocabulary. Yeah? They don't, go through 1 year of listening to their mother, and the second year the mother says everything. Moves on. And the words which are important come up all the time. You can listen to 10 different people speak about 10 different things, but you will know the word "the," isn't it? If you're learning English, because the word "the" is inescapable. You probably know the word for door, or roof, or house, or window, because these words are the words you need to know. Okay, and of course it's based as well, but that's a separate discussion. Is that clear? So don't fall into that pitfall. You finish something, move on. When it comes to the Arabic language, I mean, maths is different. For example, you're learning a mathematical concept. If you don't understand it, you have to redo it, right? You can't do that. You won't understand the next thing. But with languages, with vocabulary, expressions, when you cover a certain chapter, move on, no problem. The important words and the important expressions will come up over and over again. All right. At this stage again, it's very important to discuss. Find other people who are also learning Arabic. Preferably do the same book. Check your translations with each other. And find people who know Arabic and use them. At this stage, in stage number 2, the intermediate stage where you're reading, you are your own teacher. And that mindset is extremely important. Don't rely on finding a teacher. Okay? In the first stage, you have to rely on a teacher. Second stage, the teacher is just a resource to you, just like a book. You ask him when you're stuck, but you don't go to him for the fundamentals. The lessons become a Q&A session. The lesson should be all about, Ustad, I read this page, this is what I did not understand. It's not him going through for the first time that book. That stage, especially maybe in the beginning, he will go through just to teach you, get you introduced to the book. But after a while, you need to be your own teacher. And your teacher, the one who's going through the book with you, is the reason to treat him with a different level of respect. The respect is adab, you turn up on time, you give him the respect as your teacher, but you understand, you have to use him as a resource. Don't rely on him like you relied on him in the first stage. Do your own work. When you get stuck, ask him. When you get stuck, ask him. In the first and the second stage, this is where it's the most easy to become demoralized. It's between these two stages where it becomes the most easy to be demoralized. Try very hard, keep going, don't give up at these stages. Arabic language is like, at the beginning it's tough, sometimes it feels tough. Once you get it, it's just eureka after eureka after eureka. You have lots of very good moments of euphoria, where you just learn and you learn and you learn and you feel very good. And it's worth it at the end. All the reasons we mentioned at the beginning. Number 2. Is that clear, brothers? Okay. I'll take questions at the end because we. Okay. Stage number 3 is a little bit more advanced comprehension and starting to think in Arabic. Okay. Generally, do everything you already did. Make sure you're reading the Quran. Still have a teacher if you can. At this stage, you don't necessarily need it. You just know someone who knows Arabic, and you go to them when you need to. Call them up. If you have a teacher, good. If you have a weekly or a bi-weekly session with them. But if you can't afford that, you don't need that at this stage. You don't need that at this stage. You just need your dictionary, you need your mind, you need your dedication, and you need his phone number, maybe. Or something. When you get stuck, or send him a WhatsApp message or text message. At this stage, you move on to slightly more advanced books. Or you're near the end of like Qiraat al-Rashida, which even introduce you to some poetry. Don't underestimate it. There are some very good texts in there which are not easy, especially the new syllabus, the 2014 edition. The book 4 now, Al-Qiraat al-Hurra, they have some very, very tough texts. You'll be tackling in book number 3. If you get bored, no problem. Again, people think, they do book 2, they have to do book 3. You don't have to. It's good to stick to a syllabus, fine, especially if your teacher recommends it. But if you're feeling bored of moving from one topic to another, or you want to I want to do something on seerah, at this stage, treat yourself as, sort of like an Arab. I want to read things for the content, not because I'm learning Arabic. Yeah? So you can take a book, a very simple book. Okay? Like Shaykh Ali al-Sallabi has a very nice language is not too difficult, but difficult enough that every sentence there'll be a few words you don't know. Okay? Or even books by al-Tantawi. They're quite tough, but if you're used to it. Suwar min Hayat al-Sahaba. There are many, many books you can use at this stage. Or Al-Manfaluti has some very good books. You can go through these books. And these books are very good for this stage, maybe with a teacher at this stage. And again, same thing as before. Do the work on your own. Literally, that's what it takes. But make sure that's consistent. You may know the hadith, أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ. The most beloved actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones which are consistent even if they're very small. And that has effects in everything. Okay? Just taking it a bit at a time. Small portions a day will get you very, very, very far. Okay? stage as well, you need to start thinking in Arabic about producing. So far, you'll notice in the first two stages, there wasn't much focus on speaking. Not much at all. I'm not discouraging you from speaking. If you have time, learn some phrases, practice them with friends, family. No harm. But in my opinion, especially when we're studying in the UK and you're not yet abroad and you're doing something on a part-time basis, it is a much more efficient use of your time to spend it on reading and acquiring good fundamental knowledge, I think. Because this is usually our targets. Our targets in this country at this early stage is to get to a stage where we can read books. Yeah, and speaking is important. If you have the time, do so. But it might not be a priority based on your intentions. If your intention is speaking, then that's fine. Join a speaking class, join a speaking club. There are some of these that happen. Once a week they just talk about anything and everything. Again, and I forgot to mention this actually, if you want to go back, stage 2 and 3, stage 2, sorry. You know, when I was talking about just reading, sorry brothers, I missed that. You need to start listening to things. Yeah? And at this stage you're listening to things, but you're not necessarily. If you want to every now and then take a note of a word, do so. But at this stage, literally, there are some good series on YouTube, for example, like Qisas al-Insan min al-Quran, stories of people from the Quran. It's a cartoon. Yeah? Literally just listen to it, even if you don't understand a word. And this is important because it builds familiarity with the language, and that's important. Imagine you knew no Arabic, and I came to you and I said, Kitab al-Waladi. Forget knowing what it means. Do you know how many words that I just said? Do you know if it's one word or 2 words? If you don't know any Arabic? Do you? If I do Kitab al-Waladi, Binti. Now do you know how many words there are in each one? You can separate, isn't it? So you've learned something, right? You've picked something up. You've picked up that kitab is a word, bint is a word, and walad is a word. Yeah, you've learned something over time. Even if you don't know what they mean. That gives you a familiarity with the language, being able to differentiate words from other words, even if you don't know what they mean. And that's important. That means you can now look these words up in the dictionary. That's important for stage number 2. Stage number 3, you start caring about the vocab. So stage number 3, you'll be familiar with, okay, this word keeps coming up. Everything I watch, I keep hearing al different words. We'll continue after that, inshallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Sorry brothers, I am rushing this because we're very short of time. I'll try and summarize again at the end. We're on stage 3. Again, I just want to remind, this applies to brothers and sisters both. Yeah, we'll talk specifically about going abroad with sisters in a moment. But everything so far, there's no difference between brothers and sisters. Sisters might have a harder time finding institutes and so forth, but there are still things out there. So generally the advice applies to both. So we're on stage 3. Reading a slightly more advanced book. You're listening, you're carrying out the vocab now, you're pausing the video. And this is important, and I did this when I was abroad as well. And I made a point of this, and this is something that helped me and gave me an advantage over other students. I remember like other students would be sitting in this room with their teacher, they're reading a book, and I told my teacher I want to go to his office and use the computer and watch a cartoon. And he was, we started doing that, and he started enjoying it so much. Every time I asked him to pause it, he annoyed with me because he's enjoying the video. Yeah. I said, I don't understand this with that word. That's very important. You need to start doing that. Start writing things here. In the first 2 stages, your teacher will give you translation exercises from English to Arabic, Arabic to English. You'll be doing that's important. But here you need to start producing your own writing, and this will help in your speaking. Writing is like the precursor to speaking. Writing is a production skill, just like speaking, but it gives you more. Writing is important here. And I don't mean taking something long in English and translating it. That's not the skill. That's a separate skill. The teacher says, give me 500 words on such and such. Or you tell yourself, I'm going to write 500 words on this. I will summarize what I read in 500 words. It's extremely important. This will take you a little while to be difficult, and it will take a teacher to really. If you spend an hour on something, it will take him 2-3 minutes to mark it. Do it, just give it to someone you know that speaks Arabic. Say, bro, can you just look at this for me? You have to go out of your way. You are your own teacher. People around you that know Arabic are just your resources. Write something, find someone you know. You can come and ask me, no problem. Yeah? Can you just check this for me? Explain where I went wrong. Do you understand? Yeah? There's so many brothers. There's Shakir here, there's Nasim here, there's Dawud somewhere here, up to some. There's so many brothers. My younger brother Muhsin is there. So many brothers who can speak Arabic. And just find them, ask them, say, who are the brothers that he just mentioned? Can you point them out to me? Don't harass them too much, but they'll help you, inshallah, if you ask for it. Okay? So, try to think in Arabic. Everything you're doing, try to think, how would I say that in Arabic? Yeah? At this stage, you've read a book, or read a lot. You know the fundamentals of Arabic. You've listened to quite a lot, so you get a familiarity with the language. You've been reading the Quran for a while. Yeah? You've maybe taught the basics to someone. And again, throughout, teach everything. Again, there's a separate point, just throwing in there. Throughout every stage, everything you know, teach it to someone. One of the best ways to consolidate what you know is to teach it. Even if you learn something, it's your first lesson, go home. Mom. Go home and say, Mama, I want to teach you this, or Mom, or Mama, or Ma, whatever you call your mom. I want to teach you this. And spend 5 minutes. She won't say no to you. She might, if she's cooking or something, I don't know. But if she has some time, she'll listen to you, inshallah. If you're very dedicated. Okay? Try to think in Arabic. For example, you're running late, you think, oh, subhanAllah, I'm running late. I think, how do you say that in Arabic? Write it down. Look it up. If you can't look it up, ask someone. Yeah? You're saying, oh, this is really, really hard. Wait a second, how do I say that in Arabic? Yeah? Or you look very nice today. Wait a second, how do I say that in Arabic? Start to think in Arabic as much as you can. And have a little notebook you make, your phone, whatever. Everything you think about, write that sentence down. And look it up. On Google Translate for it. Actually, don't use that. Write it down, look up the words, or ask somebody, how do I say this in Arabic? And that way you'll build your vocabulary. You'll build up your useful expressions, and it will allow you to start to really be native. Okay? That's stage number 3. Number 4 is where you are fast as someone who knows Arabic, right? This is where you start treating yourself like an Arab. You've sort of done this in stage 3 already, but now you have to start moving on to studying things for the sake of the subject and not for the studying of Arabic. For example, you study fiqh. And you're studying it in Arabic, and for the sake of studying the subject in Arabic, and it will improve your Arabic, but you're studying it for the subject in itself. You understand? You're studying seerah for the sake of learning seerah, not for the Arabic. So far, learning something about history, something from the, but you're doing it to improve Arabic. That's your primary goal. Now you need to move on. Treat yourself like someone who knows Arabic, like an Arab. Study something for the sake of that subject, and that will improve your, mindset will shift. I know Arabic, and you will improve tremendously. And at this stage, you really start to get consolidation in everything you've learned. And this is one of the best advices I've ever been given. I remember when about 5 months in, there was a fiqh class started, and I'd never done any proper fiqh before, and brother was saying, just join. I said, no, it's too hard. And I joined. And I didn't understand everything, of course. But I realized from that lesson, my Arabic improved because I was just, the standard expected was just higher. I had to reach that standard. People were talking in Arabic, discussing. It was just a class like I was with Arabs. You understand? And that tremendously improved my Arabic. All right. At this stage as well, you start to do something classically. Maybe you did this before. especially if you went abroad by that point, something like Al-Ajr Rumi in grammar or Al-Qatr al-Nada, even advanced something beyond that. Maybe some poetry. Maybe even in stage 3 you've done some poetry, but stage 4 definitely poetry is key. Learning poetry, because poetry is how the classical Arab is the classical language. You spend some time on poetry, even memorizing a few verses. Even memorizing, of course, Quran memorization and Hadith memorization, other things should be the priority, but poetry there should be a small portion where you spend some time memorizing, so you have a few words. I'm going to spend expanding. You're your own person, you don't need advice anymore. You move on, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. Just to quickly summarize everything I said. Stage 1, stage 0 is where you know nothing, you learn the alphabet. Stage 1 is the fundamental basics. Noun sentence, verb sentence, basic vocab. You need a teacher for this, rely on your teacher. Okay, rely on your teacher. Use post-it notes, don't run around with different teachers, and read Quran always. Stage 2 is the intermediate stage. Pick up a simple book, apply what you learn. It's so important. Don't be that guy that can tell you all the grammatical mistakes you can't read a book. So many like that exist. So many like that. They've studied so much and they can show off with it, and they say, Akhi, that should end in a fatha, not a kasra, but you give them a book, they can't read it. Don't be that person. The objective behind it is to use the Arabic language and understand it, not to break down a sentence grammatically and still be able to say nothing in Arabic language. There are so many people, even graduates from universities, Medina University, they still can't produce a proper sentence of Arabic. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. So that's stage number 2. Take listening a bit seriously, start listening to things, apply everything you know, through the grammar, through the reading. Stage number 3 is something a bit more advanced. Writing summaries, start writing, start taking the listening a bit more seriously, pause it, write the words, ask your teacher what this means. Stage 4 is all the previous, and you move on to treating yourself like an Arab. Okay? And the thing is, throughout all these stages, read the Quran. Read the Quran and have questions. And that's the amazing thing about the Quran. The Quran, no matter what your level of Arabic, there'll always be something you don't get. Always. And sometimes it feels like the Quran is one purpose amongst all its other purposes to teach you. That's one of the amazing things about the Quran. That even if you're a beginner, there are words you understand and learn from it. Basic words. And no matter how advanced there are things that puzzle you. Why is it like this? Why is it sabi'una here but sabi'ina there? It doesn't make sense. That's quite an advanced point. You have to ask about it. Yeah? In one qira'ah, inna hadani. Why is it hadani? And it's an advanced point, and you have to go and ask about it. And you'll have to go to some advanced books. Or your teacher might not know the answer at this stage. No matter what your level, the Quran will always give you something to think about. And have this mindset that whenever you're reading the Quran, if you don't understand something, don't let it pass you. No, don't let that pass you. Circle it. Write it down. Ask your teacher. What's the meaning behind this? Why did Allah say this and not that? What could be the potential wisdom? And very, very finally, going abroad. Going abroad is important. A lot of people tell you, you don't have to. I don't agree with that. However, you don't obtain proficiency. I didn't used to believe this, and then I met a brother in Oldham a couple of years back. His name is Faizan. I'll say it publicly. Or Abu Osama is known as. You might meet him one day. Maybe he's watching. MashaAllah, I met him. He'd never been abroad. He'd never been abroad, but so and he has a very beloved place in my heart, because it's very inspirational to me. I'd been abroad at that point. And I thought, alhamdulillah, I've been abroad. He surpassed me by far. His Arabic was so much different. He'd never been abroad. He worked hard and he practiced. That's what he did. And there are many brothers like that. Again, sisters, going abroad might be a bit more difficult. A lot of sisters take the view, and there's a majority view that you can't go abroad without a mahram. You can't go abroad without a mahram. You need to have your father or someone who's a mahram to go abroad with you. And this is where, brothers, you're taking your role as mahram is extremely important. You must, if you have a sister, or a daughter, or your mother even, okay, or your wife, and she wants to go abroad, it's important that you take some time, maybe sacrifice a year or a few months of your life to go abroad with her. Sometimes I believe it's more important that the sisters learn Arabic than the brothers. The sister is the one who will build a society, who will build a family. And if a righteous family is built from a righteous sister, a righteous mother, a righteous daughter, that's more important than a random brother knowing Arabic and teaching it. We need to invest, sacrifice some time, take your roles as mahram seriously, and really make that sacrifice to spend time with the sisters and take them abroad. But at the same time, to the sisters, if you can't go abroad, don't be demotivated. Many brothers, many sisters have gotten very far just by working hard in this country. And again, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get you there. Going abroad is important though for several reasons. You grow up in lots of ways. Even just for the general, the reason behind learning Arabic is to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And going abroad helps that from other perspectives. You mature. You become humble in many ways. You experience ibadah in a different way. And many, many things, unfortunately we don't have time to cover. There are many more things I wanted to say, unfortunately. I had to rush the end. There are 2 minutes till Salah Iqamah, so I don't think there are even any time for questions. So I will end there. Subhanaka wa bihamdika la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to be from amongst those who implement what they learn and who act with what they preach. Jazakumullah khairan. Wa sallallahu wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
back, so feel free to have some refreshment. Also be sure to come next week. That's all.
After, because Salah time now is attachment, inshallah. I'll give them in.
الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا